I found these in your coat pocket. Are they yours? I asked, holding up a pair of earrings that definitely weren't mine. Trent's brow furrowed as he glanced at the delicate diamond studs nestled in my palm. Oh, those. They must be for you, he replied with a casual smile. I was going to surprise you with them for our anniversary next month. My heart sank as doubt crept in. Trent's eyes betrayed no hint of deception, but the alibi felt rehearsed, like he'd prepared for this confrontation. Really? You don't think I'd recognize my own jewelry? I challenged, gesturing to the simple pearls adorning my ears, a gift from my mother years ago. Trent shrugged nonchalantly. I guess I misjudged your taste. I can return them if you don't like them. His casual dismissal stung, but I knew better than to press the issue further. We'd only been married for 5 years, but I recognized the signs of him shutting down emotionally. As he brushed past me to retrieve his briefcase, I caught a whiff of an unfamiliar floral scent lingering on his shirt collar. My stomach twisted with a sickening realization. Those earrings weren't meant for me. Later that night, after Trent had fallen asleep, I tiptoed to his coat and rifled through the pockets. Buried beneath receipts and loose change, I found a crumpled paper slip from the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, dated 2 weeks earlier. My hands trembled as I smoothed out the receipt, revealing the damning evidence of a 2-night stay and charges for room service and spa treatments, far more than any business trip would entail. As I studied Trent's peaceful face in the moonlight, I couldn't shake the feeling that my world was about to unravel. The man I thought I knew was rapidly becoming a stranger, and I had to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Over the next few weeks, Trent's behavior only grew more suspicious. His late nights at the office became a near-daily occurrence, and he'd invariably reject my offers to bring him dinner, claiming he'd already eaten. Yet the lingering scent of unfamiliar perfumes told a different story. My frustration mounted as I watched our joint credit card statements rack up charges at upscale restaurants and boutiques, expenses that didn't align with his supposed work obligations. When I confronted him about the discrepancies, he brushed them off as client entertainment or new suits for important meetings. You know how it is, Dulcie. I have to maintain a certain image in my line of work, he'd say with a wink, as if that excused everything. I confided my growing concerns to my best friend, Jonah, during one of our weekly brunches. He listened intently, his brow furrowed with concern. I hate to say it, but I've had my suspicions about Trent for a while. Jonah admitted, his voice low. The late nights, the unexplained expenses, it doesn't add up. I felt a pang of betrayal, both at Trent's potential infidelity and Jonah's lack of candor. Why didn't you say something sooner? Jonah shook his head apologetically. I didn't want to jump to conclusions without proof. But if you're seeing these red flags too, it might be time to start digging deeper. His words resonated, and a newfound resolve took root within me. I couldn't confront Trent without concrete evidence, lest he simply deny everything as he'd done before. That night, as Trent slept soundly beside me, I slipped out of bed and retrieved his phone from his discarded pants. With trembling fingers, I installed a tracking app, disguising it as a new family safety feature. If he was being unfaithful, I intended to catch him red-handed. As I returned to bed, acutely aware of Trent's even breathing next to me, a wave of determination washed over me. I wouldn't be the naive, blindsided wife any longer. It was time to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The tracking app led me straight to Trent's little secret, a luxury boutique in the heart of downtown, where he was browsing racks of designer dresses. My heart pounded as I watched him discreetly hand his credit card to the salesgirl, who scurried off to process his purchase. Rage and betrayal surged through me, and before I could think better of it, I stormed into the boutique, confronting him head-on. "What the hell is going on here, Trent?" I demanded, drawing the attention of the other patrons. Trent whirled around, his face blanching at the sight of me. "Dulcie, what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I spat, holding up my phone with the tracking app's telltale location marker. "Who are you buying those dresses for, huh? Your mistress?" Trent's expression morphed from shock to anger as he realized the jig was up. "How dare you accuse me like that? It's for a client's wife. A thank you gift for helping me land a big deal." "Don't insult my intelligence," I shot back. my voice rising. I'm not stupid, Trent. I've seen the hotel receipts, the credit card charges. When were you going to tell me about your affair? His jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he might deny everything once more. But then the dam broke. Fine, you want the truth? He snarled, leaning in close. Yes, I've been seeing someone else, Eva's half your age and twice as exciting as you'll ever be. The words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the wind from my lungs. Around us, the boutique had fallen eerily silent, all eyes trained on our explosive confrontation. Trent seemed to revel in my anguish, a cruel smirk twisting his lips. What, you thought I'd stay faithful to a frigid nagging shrew like you forever? Eva knows how to keep a man satisfied, something you clearly forgot long ago. White-hot fury coursed through me, and before I could stop myself, my hand connected with his cheek in a resounding slap. Gasps rippled through the boutique as Trent recoiled, clutching his reddened face. In that moment, I realized our marriage was well and truly over. But as I stormed out, leaving Trent to confront the weight of his deceit alone, a newfound sense of determination took root. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of my revenge. In the aftermath of my public confrontation with Trent, the full extent of his betrayal began to surface. Jonah, ever the supportive friend, helped me dig deeper into Trent's financial records and communications. What we uncovered was a tangled web of deceit that went far beyond a mere affair. Trent had been siphoning funds from his employer for months, funneling the embezzled money into a secret offshore account. The hotel stays, the lavish gifts, all paid for with his ill-gotten gains. That low-life scumbag, Jonah fumed as we pored over the damning evidence. He's been lying to you about everything. I could only nod numbly, my heart hollowed out by Trent's deception. To think I had once trusted this man implicitly, only to have him trample all over our vows and our finances. But the final insult came when I accessed our joint investment accounts, bracing for the worst. To my horror, Trent had liquidated a significant portion of our assets, draining our nest egg behind my back. That greedy bastard, I spat, fighting back tears of rage. He's been robbing me blind, all while carrying on with his little tramp. Jonah placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. We'll make him pay for this, Dulcie, I promise. His words ignited a newfound fire within me. I was done being the victim, the hapless wife left in the dark. Trent had awoken a primal fury that would consume him if he didn't face justice. Over the next few days, I pored over every scrap of evidence, documenting each instance of fraud and infidelity with meticulous precision. Jonah introduced me to an old law school buddy of his, a shark of a lawyer named Camille, who helped me strategize my next moves. We need to hit him where it hurts most, Camille advised, her eyes glinting with determination. His reputation, his finances, his freedom, we'll strip it all away, one piece at a time. As I nodded in grim agreement, I could feel the weight of years of emotional abuse and gaslighting sloughing off my shoulders. No more would I be the naive, subservient wife. Trent had made the grave mistake of underestimating me, and by the time I was through with him, he would regret ever crossing the line from husband to sworn enemy. With Camille's guidance, I began meticulously piecing together a plan to bring Trent's world crashing down around him. Simply divorcing him and walking away would be too easy an out. No, he needed to face the full consequences of his actions. We have to hit him from all angles, Camille advised during one of our strategy sessions. The evidence of his financial crimes is rock solid, but we can't forget about the personal betrayal, too. I nodded grimly, still haunted by the memory of Trent's cruel words in that boutique. He needs to be publicly shamed, humiliated the way he humiliated me. Camille's lips curved into a predatory smile. Exactly. We'll make sure his mistress and colleagues know every sordid detail of his infidelity. By the time we're done, he'll have nothing left. No reputation, no assets, no freedom. The plan began to take shape. Camille would file for an emergency freeze on Trent's accounts and assets, ensuring he couldn't squirrel away any more of our combined wealth. Meanwhile, I would compile an airtight dossier of evidence to present to his employer, detailing the full extent of his embezzlement scheme. But the pièce de résistance would be the public unveiling of his sordid affair with Eva, his much younger mistress. I had managed to uncover explicit text messages and photos exchanged between the two, leaving no doubt as to the nature of their relationship. As the pieces fell into place, a sense of grim satisfaction washed over me. For too long, I had been the victim, subjugated by Trent's manipulations and lies. Now, the tables had turned, and he would face the consequences of his actions tenfold. The night before we set our plan into motion, I found myself unable to sleep, my mind racing with the weight of what was to come. A part of me still loved the man I had married, or at least the man I thought he was. But that man was long gone, replaced by a callous, deceitful stranger. With a heavy heart, I accepted that there was no going back, no chance for redemption or reconciliation. Trent had made his choices, and now he would have to live with them. As the first rays of dawn peeked through the curtains, I rose from bed, my jaw set with determination. It was time to bring the curtain down on this sordid chapter of my life, once and for all. The night of Trent's company gala arrived, and with it, the moment of reckoning I had been meticulously planning. As I stepped into the lavish ballroom, dressed to the nines, all eyes turned toward me. The spurned wife, about to unleash her revenge. I spotted Trent across the room, schmoozing with his boss and colleagues, looking every bit the charming, successful executive he had always projected. Eva was draped on his arm like a trophy, her clingy dress leaving little to the imagination. Bile rose in my throat at the sight of them together, so smug and self-assured in their deceit. But I swallowed it down, focusing instead on the thrill of what was to come. As the speeches began, I made my move, striding purposefully toward the stage. Gasps rippled through the crowd as I ascended the steps. But Trent merely rolled his eyes, assuming I was seeking one last pathetic confrontation. How wrong he was. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice ringing out over the microphone. "For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dulcie Martin, soon-to-be ex-wife of your esteemed colleague, Trent Martin." Trent's smirk faltered as I held up a thick manila envelope stuffed with damning evidence. "Over the past few months, my husband has not only been embezzling funds from this company to fund his lavish lifestyle, but he's also been carrying on an affair with this woman, Eva Carlton, one of his subordinates." Pandemonium erupted as I projected onto the screen behind me explicit photos and text exchanges between Trent and Eva, leaving no doubt as to the nature of their relationship. Eva's face drained of color, while Trent's boss looked apoplectic with rage. "You lying, cheating scumbag!" Eva shrieked, shoving Trent away from her. "You said you were getting divorced." Trent turned toward me, his expression a mask of fury. "You vindictive bitch! How dare you humiliate me like this?" I merely smiled, savoring his impotent rage. "I'm just returning the favor, dear husband. You made me look like a fool for far too long." Security guards began closing in, but I remained rooted to the spot, reveling in my moment of triumph. As Trent was dragged away, bellowing futile threats, I locked eyes with his boss. "The evidence is all there," I said coolly. "I expect you'll handle this situation accordingly." And with that, I turned on my heel and strode out, leaving chaos and ruin in my wake. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. In the days following Trent's explosive downfall, the fallout from my ruthless machinations continued to unfold. Thanks to Camille's deft legal maneuvering, the majority of our joint assets and investments had been secured under my name before Trent's accounts were frozen by the authorities. He showed up at my doorstep a week later, looking like a shell of his former self, unshaven, disheveled, and utterly defeated. "Dulcie, please," he croaked, his eyes bloodshot and rimmed with dark circles. "You have to help me. They've taken everything, my job, my money, my reputation. I'm ruined." I regarded him coldly from the doorway, unmoved by his pitiful pleas. "You did this to yourself, Trent. You made the choice to betray me, to lie and steal and cheat. These are simply the consequences of your actions." His face contorted with impotent rage. "How can you be so heartless, after everything we've been through together?" I let out a derisive snort. "Everything we've been through? You mean the years of emotional abuse, gaslighting, and financial manipulation? Please, spare me the crocodile tears." Trent's shoulders slumped in defeat. "I'm sorry, Dulcie. I'm so sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. Please, just give me another chance. I'll do anything, I swear." For a fleeting moment, I almost felt a pang of pity for the broken man before me. But then I remembered the utter humiliation and anguish he had put me through, and my resolve hardened once more. Sorry isn't good enough, Trent. Not anymore. I shook my head, my voice flat and devoid of emotion. We're through. For good this time. Go crawl back to your little mistress and see if she'll take you in now that you're penniless and disgraced. His mouth opened and closed wordlessly, realizing the futility of his pleas. With a final withering glare, he turned and shuffled away, shoulders hunched in defeat. As I watched his retreating form disappear down the street, a profound sense of closure washed over me. The man I had once loved was well and truly gone, replaced by a cautionary tale of greed, arrogance, and betrayal. But I had emerged from the wreckage stronger, wiser, and most importantly, victorious. Trent's actions may have shattered our lives, but in the end, I had ensured he reaped what he had sown tenfold. And as I closed the door on that chapter of my life, I knew that true peace and healing could finally begin. The divorce proceedings were a mere formality after everything Trent and I had endured. Camille made sure I emerged with the lion's share of our remaining assets, leaving him with little more than the clothes on his back. As I packed up the last of my belongings from our once-shared home, preparing to start fresh elsewhere, Jonah stopped by to lend a hand, and a sympathetic ear. "How are you holding up?" he asked, surveying the bare walls and half-dismantled furniture with a solemn expression. I let out a weary sigh, brushing away a stray lock of hair from my face. Honestly, relieved, exhausted, but relieved that this whole nightmare is finally over. Jonah nodded understandingly. "You showed incredible strength throughout all of this, Dulcie. I don't know if I could have handled it with such poise." A rueful smile tugged at my lips. Let's just say I had plenty of motivation to see it through to the bitter end. We fell into a contemplative silence as we finished packing up the last few boxes. As I looked around the empty shell of the home I had once shared with Trent, I felt a profound sense of closure wash over me. You know, part of me will always love the man I thought he was, I mused aloud. The charming, devoted husband he pretended to be for all those years, but that man was just a carefully constructed illusion, a mask he wore to hide his true, despicable nature. Jonah placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "The important thing is that you saw through the facade before it was too late. You reclaimed your power and held him accountable for his actions." I nodded, feeling a swell of pride at how far I had come. "You're right. I may have lost a husband, but I found my strength and self-worth in the process, and that's something no one can ever take away from me again." As we loaded the last of the boxes into the moving van, I took one final look at the house that had once represented the life I thought I wanted, a life built on lies and false pretenses. With a newfound sense of resolve, I turned my back on the past and all its painful memories. It was time to start anew, to rebuild on my own terms. And this time I vowed there would be no room for deceit or betrayal, only hard-won wisdom, strength, and the promise of a brighter future, forged from the ashes of heartbreak.